How do you get spiritual superpowers? I mean, mediumship, healing, telekinesis, remote viewing, manifestation, levitation. And before you say levitation, willpower, come on. I've seen it. I've done it. I went to an event in Virginia called table tipping, which going to college in the mountains of Virginia, I was pleased to find out it had nothing to do with cow tipping, which is a popular pastime for drunk college boys. Poor cows. The premise behind the table tipping class was that you were going to learn a technique for making things levitate off the ground. And in this class, the thing we were going to do was levitate a table. Now, there were 4 people at my table, and I was the youngest one there. The other people, how can I say it? They were old. I mean, old like if one of them were on the other side of the spiritual veil next week, no one would be surprised. Not even them. We could not have lifted that table together if we tried. But after learning the levitation technique, we simply touched the table with the tip of our fingers and voila, the table levitated. I'm talking about 5 inches off the ground, straight up levitating. And in an upcoming video, I'm going to teach you the technique we were taught for how to make things levitate. So subscribe, what you doing? Because we're going to get into some serious stuff in this series. This is the Superpowers series, how to get spiritual superpowers. And if you are new to this channel, my name, Willpower Harris. I've been exploring spirituality and meditation since 2012. My background is corporate training. I run a global consulting company. And I'm also the founder of Shurch. It's spelled like church without the C. An S, spiritual meditation community group. And we're focused on, trying to make the world a better space and developing spirituality too as well for ourselves. Because I think we have been approaching spiritual superpowers a little backwards. People want the technique. How do I levitate? How do I heal? How do I become a medium? How do I do remote viewing? Or how do I manifest? There are techniques out there, but if techniques were the entire answer, everybody would have already got certified and have superpowers. And they don't. Far from it. So what are the missing pieces? There are 3 pieces needed for any of the superpowers I mentioned. And when you understand all 3, you have a roadmap for developing the spiritual ability you want. And I want you to remember that table levitating 5 inches off the ground, because before we finish, you're going to understand why the technique we learned that day was only 1/3 of what I believe actually happened that day. Number 1 thing to know is technique. Technique is knowing specifically what to do. There's no shortage of certifications out there in the spiritual world. You can get certified on everything. Everything. Astrology, Reiki, mediumship, healing, manifestation. Technique? That's the easy part. Give me 2 people, teach them the same technique. They can all get an A. Get an A up in there. But get out of class and one person can change the world and the other person, they'll be like, this technique don't work. Well, it don't work because of the missing virtue. And this is where I have to tell you something about myself. And it's not the best look for me, but I want to keep it 100. If I keep it real with you, I would say that when I started off in spirituality back in 2012, there was a workshop where you could go to learn how to bend silver spoons with your mind. And also learn how to turn light bulbs on in your hands with your mind. And I thought it would be super cool because my name is Willpower. And I figured I could do a training class like, Tony Robbins has that walk on fire thing and you won't get burnt. And if I could do that, I could have it so that somebody could come to my workshop and I would show them how they could turn the light bulb on with their hands. And then if it didn't work for them, they had to pay me more money to come back again until they learn how to do it. Cha-ching. But that's how my mindset was. And then the silver spoons, I could teach them how to bend the spoons. And then as I meditated more and I got a little bit more spiritual, I got a message after one of my meditations, right before I signed up for a class, that said, what matters more? You knowing how to bend the spoon with your mind, or that you learn how to put food on the end of a spoon to feed the hungry? And I was like, damn. Yeah, I guess the second one's more important. And that took me on a different path. one that wasn't related to money and just figuring out how to do gimmicks to get things done and techniques on how to get things done. It was a different path, a path that led me to go into India, Nepal, Ghana, all these other places trying to do humanitarian things and meditate more and kindness. And that's when I realized all these things that some people think are the steak, nah, that's the sizzle. It's just a side effect. It's a side effect of living a good life. And if that spoon story just changed what you're thinking about and how you're looking at spiritual power, boom, click that like button for me. Because that's part of the whole equation for me now. Show me any spiritual guru and I can show you what they were like. Because those are abilities. It's because they started off being a good human being. And then it led to this. So the key behind these superpowers are really having virtues. Number 2, of course, is virtues. And I'm not just saying being a good person. That's too generic. That's what everybody and their mama would say. What I'm saying is that these spiritual superpowers are tied to virtues. Each one of these superpowers, any superpower that you want, any of them, is matched up to one or more virtues. Technique alone is not enough. Reiki master, you can get certified. Pranic healer, you can get certified. Meditation master, yep, you can get certified. Some people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year learning techniques and still come home every night and bitch slap their plants. Spiritual guru, just getting certified isn't enough. It's all about your nature, okay? It's all about your nature. What virtue they possess. You want to be able to heal or be a healer? Now, in the healing community, some people say, I don't do the healing, I witness the healing. Others say the energy flows through me, not from me. Whichever way that you kick it out, you want to participate in people feeling better. If you want that, then you got to be compassionate. That's not the only virtue you need, but that's the main virtue you need. Your cup has to run over on that. And to be able to have an abundance of compassion, that means you have to experience things that will cause you to have compassion. If you want to be able to read somebody's mind, then that means you need to have the virtue of truth. And in order to have the virtue of truth and understand that, you got to be lied to. So that means you got to be betrayed, bamboozled, led astray before you get these great spiritual superpowers. You got to run through some stuff. So whatever you want to get, put that in the comments because I'm going to be looking back at these. If it's mediumship or healing, manifestation, telekinesis, levitation, something I haven't mentioned yet, you can put that in there too, okay? Because throughout this series, we're going to start matching those superpowers with their specific virtues. And this is where it begins to be almost impossible for me to not talk about the third thing, okay? So let's recap and then bring it all home and get your cape on. Technique, that's the easy part. You can get certified knowing the technique. Virtue, that's the most important part. The more you have of that, the better you can execute the technique. But that third part is the hardest part. Experience. Experience brings you to virtue. And another way to say experience, if I'm going to keep it real with you, I hope I don't lose my friends. This is the part where I later look at the stats on the video and it shows everybody dropped from the video on this part. But I gotta say it. Another way to say it is problems. That's right. So this is where spiritual growth starts looking very different. Because a lot of the things that we pray for, that we want to manifest, the universe doesn't hear just the good stuff at the bottom. The universe hears, okay, you want this? All right, we'll bring you that. That will bring you this. So your prayers are being answered the whole time while you're crying. Crystal people out there, welcome to the world of Moldavite. You know what I mean? I got a friend who had problems, a lot of problems. And then she showed me her collection of Moldavite. She had about 50 gazillion stones of Moldavite. Moldavite is absolutely fantastic at helping you manifest whatever you want in your life. The price is you got to walk through fire and run through a brick wall butt naked in order to get there. Okay, so you just can't touch Moldavite, people. You can't sport Moldavite around your neck when you got a quartz soul within your body. And that brings us right back to the question that we started with. how do you get spiritual superpowers? Technique is part of it. Virtue is part of it, but experience is what develops the virtue. And unfortunately, those experiences show up disguised as problems. That's where this gets really interesting, because if that is true, then some of the problems you're trying desperately to get out of your life may actually be developing the exact virtue connected to the spiritual ability you have been asking for. You keep running into the same problem again and again. And that is what we're going to get into in the next episode. I'm going to show you how specific problems can develop specific virtues, and how those virtues connect directly to the abilities like healing, intuition, mediumship, manifestation, and other spiritual abilities. Because maybe the question isn't only how do I get this superpower? Maybe the better question is, what kind of human being would I have to become in order to have it? And remember where we started, that table levitating, right? That technique was useful, but everything I have learned since then, I believe the technique was only part of the story. The bigger story is the person you become. And ultimately, whatever spiritual ability you develop should help you do more good in the world. It took joy, it took laughter to levitate that table that day. Hint, hint. That type of skill can do more than lift tables, it lifts hearts. Find peace, create peace, help somebody else find theirs. The next video to search for on this channel is how to select your spiritual superpower. That's the next great thing to watch for you. Until next time, search and stay meditated.